Hi, ladies. Welcome to my frequently asked questions. Today, I'm going to be discussing some questions that I'm going to be answering some questions that I received on how to forgive after infidelity. If you're watching, make sure you're commenting and asking your questions live. If you don't know me, my name is Gianni, and I experienced infidelity about 7 years ago. Thankfully, my husband and I were able to heal our marriage. But I've since dedicated my career to helping women who are struggling because I remember how hard it was to just navigate the emotions and navigate the rebuilding of the marriage and all of that kind of thing. So if I'm looking away, it's because I am both on Facebook and on YouTube, and also because I'm looking at my phone for the questions that were submitted. So somebody asks, or somebody says, how do you forgive after repeated behavior? So I'm assuming that this means repeated infidelity. The only thing they said was repeated behavior, so I'm not sure. But in my opinion, this is not a forgiveness issue. This is a boundary issue. Usually, those of us who have experienced infidelity have a habit of loving too much and of giving too much and of tolerating too much pain in the relationship. We have a high threshold for pain and abuse and neglect. So, when you're continuing to be there for someone after repeated behavior, you feel resentful of them. And so you think, well, how do I forgive them because they keep doing this? When in reality, that's about you. That's about you not lowering the threshold of what you tolerate, because in your life, it is your responsibility to take care of you as an adult, right? So you think the resentment is towards him, but in reality, the resentment is self-directed because you put yourself or kept yourself in that situation to begin with, and you chose that relationship. Not to say the relationship is doomed, it's just that in order to create a healthy relationship from what is now toxic, you have to exhibit healthy behaviors, and that is setting boundaries for yourself, meaning I'm not going to tolerate this anymore, removing yourself from the equation until there are changes on his part, on your part, and effectively consequences for the behavior. Because what happens is let's say, for example, that he's cheating over and over, and you stay there, then why would he be faithful? He has no reason to change. You're not giving him any consequences. You're not giving him an incentive to change, because he can have you and have everyone else too. So in his mind, there's nothing wrong here because she's okay with this, even if you're saying it, right? But your actions speak louder than words. So that's what I would say to that. Someone else says, and I'm not going to say the names, is forgiveness necessary, and when is the right time? Can it be too soon, and what would it feel like? Okay, I like this because this is like a nice little series of questions. Is forgiveness necessary? Yes, forgiveness is necessary because it sets you free. Forgiveness does not mean that you stay with the person if you don't want to. Forgiveness does not mean you have to work on the relationship. Forgiveness means that you let it go and you move on. With them, without them, it doesn't matter, because forgiveness is about you. Forgiveness is about cleaning that from your heart. Forgiveness is about evolving and going above the situation, rising above the situation to create something new. So when is the right time? The right time to forgive is whenever you're ready. There is no right time. You allot yourself as much time as possible. What happens is that the longer you hold on to the resentment, the longer you have that ickiness inside of you. I know there's a saying out there that goes something like, resentment is like drinking poison and thinking the other person's going to die. It's really just hurting you, because oftentimes our perception of the other person is, oh, why doesn't he care? He's just so out there and he's already over it, and I'm the one over here suffering. Well, you're the one holding on to it still. So can it be too soon? If, excuse me, if you're referring to reconciliation, can you reconcile and forgive someone too soon? I say yes, because I don't think you should reconcile until you are in a healthier, stronger state of mind, in order to really just decipher what it is that you truly want in your life. And what would it feel like? Forgiveness feels like freedom. It feels like letting go. It feels like being able to breathe again. I remember that I felt like I was drowning. Like the pain was literally like I was drowning. I felt like I was suffocating. And so forgiveness feels like openness. Forgiveness feels like giving the other person a blank slate. I recommend my Affair Alchemy digital program. I'll put the link in the description below because this will really help you get the gunk out. And I take you through a healing emotional freedom technique process in order to get forgiving. Get forgiving, yes. So I'll put the link for that in the description below. If you're watching live, hello, make sure you're commenting and saying hello so I'm not speaking to myself. So the next person says, forgiveness has everything to do with us and not them. So I believe that that means the betrayed spouse. Forgiveness is about the betrayed spouse and not the other person. I agree with that. Um, for me, I need understanding. So what she's saying is that she needs knowledge about infidelity in general, and why it hurts so bad and how it happens. And the more she understands about infidelity, the more she is freed from it. And what I would say to this is that, yes, when we're going through it, we think we need more information. We want to know everything that happened, even between then. We want to know all the details, all the times, where was I? How could you do this? All that kind of thing. We want to also understand infidelity and all that thing. But I think it's a distraction because what you're really searching for, first of all, he's never going to give you a reason that satisfies uh, your inquisition, right? There's never a good reason to cheat. There's never a good reason. So he can't give you an excuse that's really gonna make you say, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I totally get why you cheated. I would have done the same thing under those circumstances. Like that doesn't exist, right? So what you're really searching for that you think you'll find in information is a sense of security. And honestly, that comes from confidence. That comes from building your own self-confidence. And you'll never find that in what he did, what he didn't do, and someone else out there. It just doesn't exist like that. The sense of security starts within. And oftentimes we think that infidelity is the thing that ruined everything, but really infidelity brings up everything that needs to be healed that we've been holding on from long, long ago in our past. Okay, let's see who else. So someone says, should I forgive the person my wife cheated on me with? I know him. He's met my kids and the rest of my family. I've given him rides home and have bought him a beer, all prior to the discovery. She has cut all ties and is committed to fixing our marriage, but her brother is still friends with him. So should you forgive him? Yes, because forgiveness is about you. It's not about him. It's about not letting anyone have power over your heart, not letting anyone the power over your mind, not letting anyone make you bitter or jaded or ruining your future. It's about taking your power back and saying, I'm not going to let this situation be bigger than me. And so you forgive, you give the other person a blank slate. It doesn't mean that you keep them in your life. It doesn't mean that, they're your friend. It just means that they don't exist and you move on. And by they don't exist means not even the resentment exists. It's just gone. They don't exist. And that's how you deal with the other person. They just don't exist. And the reason infidelity happens to us in the first place is because we believe on some level that we're not enough for the other person. And so that comes up so that it's healed, so that it's restored in us, because everything that happens in your marriage is a reflection of what's going on within you. Your thoughts, your feelings, all those things are coming up to be healed. And so when someone rejects you, when someone doesn't choose you, it's the opportunity to say, I take my power back and I choose to let you go. And I'm not going to let you have power over me. And that's how I see it. And that's really worked for me, having that mentality of having complete responsibility over my life. And that doesn't mean that the other person is necessarily excused from their behavior, that I tolerate it. What it means is that it's feedback. It tells me, okay, something's off here, because every person that I come in contact with rejects me or doesn't love me or betrays me in some kind of way. And so often I know that everyone knows a woman who is always with a cheater. Like she'll break up with one or get divorced and then marry one, and then it'll happen again. And then uh, she ends the relationship. Oh my God, he's cheated. And then guess what? Another cheater. It's because there's a lesson for her to learn there, and she's skipping the lesson. So every time you're going through a situation, it's about being brave enough to find the lesson that is meant there for you. Nothing in your life happens without reason. Nothing in your life happens without purpose. If you're in a situation, it's because there's something that needs to be extracted out of you to use forward. And life is so good that it's going to keep repeating the lesson until you learn. So that's why leaving the situation, not forgiving the other person, is not necessarily the solution, because the solution is always within you. So someone else says, in spite of my best intentions, I'm afraid I'll never forgive. And I totally get that. It's not like it's an easy thing to forgive. It's not like, it's not easy, right? The way that I forgave my husband originally was thinking, okay, I haven't made now, because now that he's done this and he had a baby, then it's like I owned him for life, right? He was like at negative a million points with me. And so that means that I haven't made, because now I can just pull out the infidelity card every time I want. I stayed with you, so that means you're forgiven. And now, you know, I get to bring this up anytime. And that's not forgiveness, that's manipulation. Thankfully, I've gone through my process and I've come full circle. And forgiveness is really about giving the other person a blank slate. Oftentimes we get so frustrated with the what's it called? I know that the infidelity community has a lot of acronyms, with the wayward spouse, right? Because they're like, can we move on already? Do we have to talk about this again? More questions? And the reality of the situation is that we're refusing to heal. We're refusing to let go. So what I would ask this lady is, what are you getting from holding on to the resentment? Because if you're unable to let go and forgive, then there's some benefit that you perceive from being resentful. And that can be control, right? Or that can possibly be revenge. You feel like powerful because, I hate you, and I love you, and I can't leave you, and I can't do anything about it. You know what I mean? But if you really do want a second chance, it's really about going to demolish that, because otherwise you're not being fair and you're wasting your time. You really have to have both feet in if you're going to go through this path of forgiveness. And it's for you. It's not about him. It's not about what he did. It's about knowing that you have your back and that you're safe, and that you want to move forward. If this is truly what you want, then be all in. Someone else says, I feel like forgiveness will come when we are both in a better place. I don't know exactly what place that is. I like what this person said about knowledge is power. It really is. I want to fully understand and accept the understanding. That's a good point, because sometimes we get information and we can't accept it, or we'll reject it. I remember when I would ask questions and my husband would tell me the truth, I'd be like, but I put myself in that situation. I asked the question, and here he is being honest, supposedly working on our marriage, and I'm freaking out, right? So it's on you. It's on you. So you have to accept the understanding, accept the knowledge, right? I can see the light, but I'm not sure how far away it is. So forgiveness will come when we're both in a better place. I think forgiveness does come when you're in a better place, but the better place doesn't come until you forgive. I believe that forgiveness is really the key. And again, to you, I would recommend my Affair Alchemy program, because it'll walk you through that process. You can repeat it in order to really heal, right? But I don't believe the better place comes, because forgiveness is just a choice. It's a choice that you make. You think that infidelity has all this power over you, and it really doesn't. It's really you giving it your power, saying this situation is so much bigger than me. There's no way I'll get out of it. And I'll never understand this. Honestly, I've been banned from a couple groups because I'm so optimistic about everything, because it seems like most people who have experienced infidelity just want to complain about it. And I'm not about that. I'm about overcoming anything, knowing that if I'm going through this, it's going to make me bigger. It's going to make me stronger. And I'm going to come out of this on the other side, a better version of me. I'm not going to let this defeat me. And so That's the mindset you have to have if you want to overcome this. Otherwise, you're always going to be a victim to the circumstance. And that's not what it's about. That's not what I'm about. And if you're about overcoming this, then sign up to work with me. I put the link in the description below, because your time is now. Your time for healing is now. It's time to leave victim mentality behind and get above the situation and really get above what you think is possible, because anything you want is possible. I consider my life like this magical explosion of deliciousness, because it's just so wonderful. It's everything that I've ever wanted. And I desire that for you. I desire that true deep healing. But I didn't get here because I was lucky. I got here because I had sheer faith, sheer determination. I was all in to make it work for myself. And that's what it's really required. I've come to the end of my original questions. If you have any questions, now's your chance to get me live. Otherwise, I will say goodbye. Anyone have any questions for me about forgiveness? And in the meantime, I'm going to put the link to my Affair Alchemy program down below so that you can purchase it if you do need help with forgiveness and daring to dream again in your life. Okay. So I think the other thing that is worth mentioning is that I've gotten the question about how many times is it okay to like forgive a cheater? How many times is too many? I think exactly what it was. It was just like that. How many times is too many times before you have to leave? And the truth of the matter is that one time is too many. How can you think that more than one time? One second. How can you think that more than one time that someone cheats on you is not too much? One time is too many. Does that mean that you have to leave? No, not necessarily, but it's the wrong question to ask. Again, this is about what are your limits for yourself? Because oftentimes we think that boundaries are for other people. No, no, no. Boundaries are for you, because you tolerate entirely too much in your relationship, and you have to learn how to put yourself first, because if you don't put yourself first, why would he? If you don't love you, why would he? If you don't respect you, why would anyone else? It's common sense, right? So it's about overcoming this and becoming the bigger, better version of yourself. So just know that I'm here if you need support. I am always your friend. I love to talk to women who need a different perspective, need a limitlessness kind of perspective, because I will not feel sorry for you. I will not give you pity. What I'm going to give you is your own power. I'm going to awaken that power, that powerful healer that you are, and you're gonna help yourself get out of the situation, because you're bigger and you're better. And I just want to say that you are so loved and that you are more than enough for anything that you want in your life. Thank you so much for joining me. Until next time. Bye.